This is the Galactic Emperor of the Universe. I'm here to tell you all to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming and remember to turn on notifications. You will be the first to know all about the latest Dragon Ball news and information.
Oh, did you say UnrealEntGaming? Oh, I love his channel.
God damn it, Zalbon, stop rubbing your nipples and get back to bed!
The Universe 6 Saiyans are fighting for their survival within the Tournament of Power, and seemingly enough, Caulifla has taken an interest as to what Super Saiyan Blue is, in hopes of learning it from Goku and Vegeta, and also being able to transform herself. But the question is Caulifla being prepped and being the third person to ever achieve Super Saiyan Blue within Dragon Ball Super? On this video, myself and Dragon Ball YouTuber EmoshIsLIVE are going to be sharing our thoughts as to how we feel about Caulifla possibly transforming further in achieving Super Saiyan Blue, and giving our thoughts on the entire situation, alongside logically trying to analyze the subject of Super Saiyan Blue and if it would fit the narrative of the story. And before we begin, I do want to say that if you haven't subscribed to the channel, be sure to go on ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way you guys are notified whenever I post a Dragon Ball video and or discussion onto the channel, hashtag notification squad. And with Caulifla having to beg the question as to what Super Saiyan Blue is, in taking a natural interest in learning the form herself, the million-dollar question is, will Caulifla learn Super Saiyan Blue within the Tournament of Power? Now, Emosh, with the recent Dragon Ball Super spoilers having to give us more information on Caulifla taking an interest in the Super Saiyan Blue form and wanting to learn it, my question to you is, will she in fact be able to learn this from Goku or Vegeta, or will she fall short in having that be achieved? Because for me, I don't think it's necessary for Caulifla to having even achieved such a form early on in the tournament, because having to see what she did so far in Dragon Ball Super, having to achieve Super Saiyan 1 so easy, and then even having to go into Super Saiyan 2 very easily, and having to feel this tingly sensation in her back, I think that, yeah, it's, you know, it's necessary for a Saiyan to take interest, especially for her, in being curious as to what Super Saiyan Blue is. But I totally disagree with the idea in having her learn Super Saiyan Blue. So what are your thoughts on this, and do you think it's logical for her to achieve Super Saiyan Blue in the Tournament of Power?
Logical? No, definitely not. If you guys remember when the original scans for her were first released, and everybody, I mean, a lot of people thought, you know, including us, we thought she was in fact the female Broly, right? But she just looked different. Maybe this was her prior to her actually suiting up for the tournament, etc., etc. They kind of mentioned that she would have a pivotal role, play a pivotal role going into the series, right? So whether or not they meant that, you know, that this role would be in the Tournament of Power or even after that, you know, it remains to be seen. But the way they're kind of portraying her, it just looks like, you know, they're trying to make her seem like she's, you know, this arc, this Tournament of Power is going to be that, you know, her spotlight, right? So as far as her learning Super Saiyan Blue, is it necessary? It's only necessary if they're trying to match her up against with certain characters, right? That being like guys like Toppo, that being guys like Jiren, that being guys like Goku or Vegeta, or maybe even Ultimate Gohan at this point in time. Right. But other than that, who else in this term? Maybe Hit, you can question Hit as well. But
then
Hit is on the
same team with that, yeah.
Hit, exactly. So it's like, what is the purpose of even, you know, her? Who is she going to oppose at this point in time? Why teach her this concept? And where do you even get in the time from to teach her this concept, regardless of the fact if they are in fact going to have, like, you know, small intermissions in between universes getting erased and stuff like that, yeah. Right? It still doesn't make sense. If anything, you're going to utilize that time to regroup with your team, to figure out another plan if your current plan is not working, to regroup with your team to see how, you know, how we're going to go forward from here. Guys, we just witnessed Universe 9 get erased. What are we going to do now? You know, we need to, you know, approach this tournament with a little more caution, that this tournament is no joke, that Zeno-sama is in fact, you know, he's you know, staying true to his word. So I don't agree with Super Saiyan, you know, with Caulifla having this, you know, Super Saiyan Blue form, let alone achieving it through a tingly feeling in her back. Let's not forget that the concept of Super Saiyan God was bad enough. So if you give this Caulifla Super Saiyan Blue in the middle of this tournament,
out of nowhere,
you're essentially revisiting Battle of Gods with Super Saiyan God. And that's just crazy to me. So the fact that they had to train with angels, that they needed spiritual and physical guidance from an angel to tap into this power, and then the fact that they know how to tap into this power, but even yet, you know, it's still question as to whether or not they've even mastered it, right? So if you want to take that into consideration, who are you to teach somebody how to tap into a power that you've had to master yourself?
Especially if she actually achieves it, because I can see Goku giving some information saying, hey, so this is what you need to do, and passing the information on. See, giving information and having her achieve that thing, like right then and there, would be two totally different things. Because if I give you information how to achieve something, down the line you're gonna take that info and you're gonna try to adapt with that and try to, you know, utilize that concept for yourself, you know, at some given point. But if I give you the information and then out of the blue you actually perform and you do what's said, and let's say in this case she actually achieves Super Saiyan Blue, that right there, if Caulifla does achieve Super Saiyan Blue, which I think she will not, then again, I mean, this Dragon Ball Super thing has been very unpredictable, like up until this very point. If in fact Caulifla does achieve Super Saiyan Blue, I think that'll be the biggest ass pull, I think, in the entire anime for Dragon Ball Super, disregarding what Trunks did, because even during that, you know, certain scenario with him and Zamasu and stuff, it was necessary for Trunks to tap into that emotion in achieving Super Saiyan Rage, and then it's questionable in him having to use the Genki Dama Spirit Sword, but this would be completely different, dude.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Now we can actually defend Trunks.
Yeah,
at least he didn't tap into Super Saiyan Blue via ass pull, right? So
right.
He earned it in a way, I
guess. But
I
think you're definitely right. I think that given the scenario, if they wanted to put her up with said characters, I mean, they're gonna have to do that. But of course, with her having to learn each transformation so quickly, it wouldn't surprise me at this point if by some chance she learned Super Saiyan 3 at this point. But Super Saiyan Blue, dude, the divine powers of the gods, having to just simply take what someone else said and just feed off that. I mean, granted, she was considered to be a fighting genius, and she is a very rarity, like in terms of like being like, you know, from the Saiyan race of Universe number 6, because who else has done what she did in Universe number 6 in terms of being a Saiyan, right? So what I wanted to ask you is if and only if, hypothetically, if she does achieve a higher power beyond Super Saiyan 2, let's say Super Saiyan 3 or even Super Saiyan Blue for that matter, where do we go from here? I mean, where's the context in her character, and how far do you think she would go? Because she's obviously not gonna make it to the finals, I think, at least in my opinion, because you're gonna that's gonna be reserved for the big dogs: Vegeta, Hid, Jiren, Toppo, Gohan, Frieza, those kind of guys. So if by some chance she does achieve this, where do we put her from there?
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about where we go from there, okay, to say where we go from here is if she does get Super Saiyan Blue, right? Which I don't think she will. I just think they're just kind of like, you know, trying to play with us. But if she gets Super Saiyan Blue, it's safe to say that maybe we'll see more from her after this is all said and done. I mean, because you know, they're not going to utilize the concept of Super Saiyan Blue with a brand new Saiyan
just to get rid of it,
and then market that just for the tournament of power. I think it's questionable, right? So obviously, I don't know. None of us do. But you know, it's all speculation at this point. But at the same time, if she doesn't, and if she, I would say it's better for her to learn it after the arc, maybe to consider training with Vados, maybe to consider training or coming even to Universe 7, which is questionable at the same time, because now it's like, well, since when is it okay for just people to just universe hop left and right? You know what I'm saying? So that's another scenario that you have to ask yourself. It's probably the ideal scenario, but then again, it's like, well, if you're gonna try to tap into this power, there are certain requirements for that, and Caulifla has yet to show any of these requirements, despite her being a prodigy fighter, despite her being a genius fighter. That's besides the point,
right?
You know, at the end of the day, there's certain requirements that have to be met, and they should hold true to these requirements. So if she gets it, man, will I be upset? Yeah, I'll rant, because it's obviously, I think a lot of us are gonna rant.
Oh, right? yeah. I mean, I'm about to rant right now. I mean, there's no need. There's no need for Super Saiyan 2 at this point. It's not really considered a joke when you remove Goku, Vegeta, Hit, and everybody from the equation.
Yeah,
it's not. It seems formidable, but when you include Goku, Jiren, all these dudes, it's a joke, because these people have far surpassed that. But if, and I really doubt this again, because I don't think that the narrative is going to support the story, but if by some chance she does pull an ass pull and becomes a Super Saiyan Blue or a Super Saiyan Rage, or she does something to transcend beyond Super Saiyan 2, I think that it'll be a huge shot to her character development, because if you look at where she's coming from, why are you going to build her up as being the third person to achieve Super Saiyan Blue in all of Dragon Ball Super, just for her to be introduced as the first female Super Saiyan Blue to bear the powers of a god, and then having her get ringed out by, you know, said party? Don't get me wrong, I think the concept of Super Saiyan Blue versus Super Saiyan Blue would be fantastic, right? Caulifla versus Vegeta, Super Saiyan Blue. Caulifla versus Goku, Super Saiyan Blue. Hell, even Caulifla, as you said, versus Toppo, Super Saiyan Blue. Caulifla versus Ultimate Gohan, Super Saiyan Blue. That'll be a good way of seeing things, but only if she had further development up until this very point, but she's had none. We saw what she did with Cabba, and that was fine. It was questionable, but it was fine. You know, Super Saiyan, it is what it is. As everyone says, as a meme, it's a Super Saiyan bargain sale. But this should be something that nobody should tap into unless, as you said, you're training with angels or you're training with, you know, divine beings that have information on how to, you know, reach that kind of plateau. And I think that at this given point, I don't think she's going to achieve it. But what about Super Saiyan 3? Is the possibility of that happening with her at least? Because I think Super Saiyan 3 is a bit more rational than Super Saiyan Blue, because only then I think that she would be formidable. I think that she would definitely be formidable. For example, Super Saiyan 3 Caulifla versus Gohan, or etc, etc. I think that would suit her character a bit more than having her blow right past that and achieving the powers, you know, similar to that of the gods. But what about the concept of possibly Super Saiyan 3? Do you think that she's going to go that far, or is she going to remain in her current status as Super Saiyan 2? What do you think?
Well, there's two ways to look at it, I think. One way is if Super Saiyan 3 is dependent on your primal roots, and that goes back to the Saiyans of Universe 7 actually, you know, being derived from like the Ozaru, that great ape, right? So if that's because, and I base this because of what we saw from Goku when he first transformed, right? And then you can argue that, well, Gotenks did it, right? Yeah, but they're Saiyans too, so it's like, okay, you know, so now they're Saiyans of Universe 7, right? So even though they weren't born with, you know, they were born without tails, they're still hybrids. It's interesting how they want to portray Super Saiyan 3. Is it something that is dependent on, you know, your primal roots, meaning your great ape heritage, your actual Saiyan heritage, right? And it's passed down via bloodline, and that's the only way it can be passed down, which explains why Gotenks was able to do it. Yeah. Or are they just gonna make it where it's just something that's cross-platform, where because Universe 6 are Saiyans 2, if they can go Super Saiyan 1 and Super Saiyan 2, then naturally they should be able to go Super Saiyan 3. So because we see that, you know, their body changes, their facial features change, it starts to resemble more of like a, you know, like a primal kind of thing, like an animalistic kind of look, right? So that's questionable. But then again, Super Saiyan 3, there's too many drawbacks for her to even tap into that. What's the point? So and then it's like, well, they might just make it so that way she can just automatically, you know, have a better stamina usage as opposed to Goku. Meanwhile, Goku has been training for X amount of time and has, you know, you can question, you can argue, say, well, there's no way Caulifla has had equivalent training to the kind of training that Goku's had in his lifetime.
Oh, absolutely not, dude. I don't think so, at least.
But now, so then you have to ask yourself that. So, which is why I don't see them utilizing Super Saiyan 3 at all. The next step is to go Super Saiyan Blue, especially if they want her to be a big player in the Tournament of Power, even in arcs to come. So if she doesn't achieve it here, and her goal is to achieve it, then that kind of adds more to the whole safety net concept of maybe, you know, thinking what's to come afterwards, right? So is it fair? Is it okay that a Saiyan from Universe 6 should be able to achieve it? Yeah, sure, why not? But then people are gonna ask, well, what the fuck happened to Cabba?
Yeah, Cabba's not getting any airtime, man.
Right. The first person to achieve this form is yet the last person to do anything, you know, that's kind of, as far as, you know, evolving or improving the Saiyan lineage, right? So, and they're leaving it up to Caulifla just because she's a whatever, maybe she's a female character, I don't know, you know, what they're trying to portray, which is completely fine at the same time. But then it's like, well, you gotta ask yourself, well, because Cabba is the Universe 6, you know, mirrored version of Vegeta, maybe that's why they're shitting on him, because he's mirrored version of Vegeta. So that's how I look at it, because Cabba's just not getting anything. Obviously, we're only one episode into the tournament, so Cabba could get more airtime. But dude, I mean, come on, it's safe to say that they're not really planning to give Cabba anything, which is disappointing.
Now, I'm pretty sure by now a lot of you guys, if not all of you guys watching this already know, but spoiler alert, Kale is gonna get ringed out by Jiren in a very suitable fashion, to where she goes berserk, she attacks everyone. Apparently enough, she also goes into Jiren's direction, tries to attack him, and it looks like she is out of here. So I wanted to ask you, is that going to be the trigger that causes Caulifla to have her protege you know, having to suffer defeat, is that going to trigger her into accessing a deeper power? For example, I mean, I think that since Kale and Caulifla are, you know, are very much, you know, inspired by one another. I mean, we can see how Caulifla was very proud of Kale when she first transformed, and also having to see everything that, you know, Caulifla has achieved, and Kale having to kind of like, you know, respect the idea of what her, you know, teacher has been up to and doing and whatnot. So if when Kale gets thrown out, is that going to be the trigger, like the main thing that, you know, gets Caulifla to transform even further? Or is she gonna have no reaction? Well, not no more or less like no reaction, but a reaction to where it doesn't trigger her to go based off her emotion and going further into her powers. What do you think?
Well, that's interesting, because then it goes back to the concept of, you know, obtaining power through the response of a need, not a desire.
Yeah.
Right. So that would be the best case scenario.
Right.
For her to, you know,
right.
want to improve herself. Granted, let's say they get out of this alive, right? Let's say after all this is said and done, they get out of this alive. This could inspire Caulifla to potentially develop as a character.
Right.
The same way Vegeta once developed as a character, the same way Piccolo developed as a character. You know, despite that she's not a villain, but she does kind of sometimes portray, you know, like self-centered like intentions, right?
Oh,
she wants to get stronger for herself, for nobody else but herself. She just wants to see how far she can go. But what's the real motive there? At least with Vegeta, we had a motive, right? Because he was the Prince of all Saiyans.
Yeah,
he had to be top dog.
Yeah, of course.
Piccolo, there was a motive. He wanted to kill Goku. He wanted to be the ruler of, you know, of the universe or whatever. So there was a motive behind that. But for Caulifla, it's just simply, well, I want to be stronger. And then Goku makes the comparison, oh, so we really are alike. You know, you want to fight strong guys too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like that, right? Now it's like, well, I mean, who are we trying to portray? What's the motive here? Are we going to make the motive the same as Goku and Vegeta's? Are we going to give her own motive? Or are we going to create one? So I would say this arc is probably the best arc, or her only chance to develop as a character if they decide to take it that far. And this is all subjective to whether or not they want to, you know, stay or revisit the concept of going back to Universe 6 and probably learning more about Universe 6 and stuff like that. It's all dependent on what happens in the end, I think.
Right.
And I think one thing will lead to another. So if she doesn't take Super Saiyan Blue, will they go back to Caulifla and revisit Caulifla as a character later on, so that way maybe she does have Super Saiyan Blue, maybe she trained with Vados. But then again, who's to say that Vados will show her the same kind of compassion that Whis and Beerus showed her? Because Champa is not that kind of god of destruction. Champa has no interest in fighting people equivalent to his strength, let alone people beneath him, right? He does seem to be someone who might be okay with everybody else being weaker than he is, right?
Right.
So what's the agenda? What's the storyline? Where is the motive? What the hell is going on here? So I think one thing will lead to another, and we're gonna have to find out and wait and see as to what happens to decide whether or not and what their intentions are as far as Caulifla's development is concerned.
As I said before, I don't think this is going to happen. I think that, as you said, they're probably trying to play with us and trying to just like give us hints like, oh, it may happen, but it doesn't happen at all. Because right now in Dragon Ball, you can't really predict much, because whenever you try to predict something, it's like they throw like a curveball at you. So it's very interesting. With her having to, you know, having to ask for the concept of what it is and wanting to learn it, I think is very interesting. But I don't think in the end she's gonna learn it. But if she does learn it, expect everybody to rant, vent, make videos, and just cry in outrage, because, you know, for her to get that just like that, for her to achieve that so easily while just getting it off of information would be the biggest ass pull I think ever, because Goku and Vegeta busted their ass to get to where they're at now, and for someone to come along the lines and go, ooh, I have a tingly sensation in my vagina, and then all of a sudden she just transforms, would be like the biggest ass pull ever. So comment down below, guys, let us know what you guys think. There are a small, you know, community of people that do think that this is a good thing, that she should achieve it. So for those who agree or disagree, comment down below. We would like to hear what you guys have to say. And again, guys, thank you all for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to go on ahead and slap a like down below. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications. That way you guys are always up to date whenever I post a video on the channel. Hashtag notification squad. Make sure to go on ahead and subscribe to EmoshIsLIVE. He does tons of awesome Dragon Ball videos on his channel as well, guys. Analytical breakdowns, reviews, discussions, you know, all sorts of stuff, guys. So thank you all for watching as always. Tune back in for more, and we'll be seeing you all down below, guys. Take it easy. Peace.